That's not. How are you going to be graded? Heavy yes. Assignments and discussions, so do them, please. Okay? It's very easy to pass if you submit your assignments all the time. I do not see students failing when they submit their homeworks all the time, but I've seen students who failed because of non-submission of homework. Okay? What's next after assignments and homework? Quizzes. Okay. Lucky to give 2 quizzes. Back in the day, I pushed for three quizzes. Now, sometimes it's just 1. Sometimes it's just 2. Okay. And then final exams and PPS, almost the same weight. You see that? So dress code, proper decorum. Okay, that's important. Now let's talk about the PTCB and the outline. So pull out your guidelines and requirements. Where do you see information pertaining to the PTCB? So you may go to www.ptcb.org. Okay. Remember, there are 2 organizations that certify you, nationally certified pharmacy technician, for you to get the title CPhT. One is PTCB, which stands for Pharmacy Technician Certification Board. Okay. And the second one is NHA. We have the PTCB and the NHA. National Healthcare Association, I think. So for PTCB, it's ptcb.org. For NHA, it's nhanow.com. Okay. The test for the PTCB for pharmacy technicians is called Pharmacy Technician Certification Exam. Okay. The name of the test coming from the NHA is called Exam for the Certification of Pharmacy Technicians. It's really abbreviated like that. Okay. Both of these are national certification exams, aka board exam for pharmacy technicians. You follow? Okay. And after you pass them, you will get the title after your name. You can use the title, your name, comma, capital C, capital P, lowercase h, capital T, which stands for Certified Pharmacy Technician. You're a certified pharmacy technician. Why is this important? Okay, but before I tell you why this is important, let me tell you what I recommend that you take, okay, and what each organization does or covers. So for the PTCB, they're the first one, okay? They're created by pharmacy technicians for pharmacy technicians. They cover all 50 states. You're accepted in all 50 states, including some provinces of Australia, New Zealand, Canada, okay, Bahamas, and other, of course, United States territories. Okay. For the NHA, they just followed suit. They've been in existence, but they didn't become as popular for pharmacy technicians because they give other tests too. This one's specific pharmacy technician until 2020. Okay, just to give you a history. Why? In 2020, PTCB changed their blueprint and they said, you cannot take the PTCE unless you went to an accredited school or training program. Okay? So people who didn't go to school and are pharmacy technicians are panicking, right? But we need to kind of grandfather in the ones who didn't go to school. So this is when the ExCPT became a little bit more popular. But back in the day, they don't even have 25 states that accept them. Now there's 47 states. There's only 3 that don't accept them. Okay. What's the difference? I told you I took both just to know the truth. Okay. Because they said this one is way easy. Very, very easy compared to this one. So I was like, okay, I'll take both. I went in for the PTCB in my Pima scrubs and took the test because you'll choose what school you're from. Okay. You're taking your training. So I chose Pima. And I took this one during pandemic. So I took this in a testing center so that I can experience walking through the testing process. Okay. And then I took this one at home during pandemic, proctored. Okay. And these are the things I'd like to tell you and share with you. Some things you should and should not do. So, yes, if you're in forums, it is true that the PTCE is more difficult than the ExCPT. Knowing our curriculum so well and what I teach you, I'd say after I took this, I can tell that my students can take it after 2 sequences. This one, you'll have to finish the entire program before you take it. This has a lot of retail questions and very easy math. Okay. This has compounding retail math calculation, which I'm going to discuss in a little bit. Okay. Testing center versus home testing. Okay. Here's my advice. Based on my experience, do not take it at home. I'll tell you why. So when I went to the testing center, okay, there's a little locker you put in your phone, put in everything. They may provide you a calculator, or the proctor may say, use the calculator on the computer. They're going to provide you 3 laminated sheets. Okay. And the proctor is going to say, you may use this sheet as scratch paper and a dry erase marker. Okay. You may write front and back, which means you have 6 scratch papers. You following? And they're not going to give you an eraser. So they want you to turn in that scratch paper, the laminated sheets, without you erasing anything. That clear? They may give you you're not allowed to use your own calculator. They may have a basket of little calculators, or they may say, use the calculator on your computer. Okay? And then they're going to walk you through a cubicle, okay, with cameras. They're going to empty your pockets. They'll take your picture. Okay. For pharmacists, it's different. They even take pictures of tats or tattoos. Okay. It's like a lot of mug shots. For techs, it's easier. Like pharmacists, 5 hours. Okay. For you guys, it's 2 hours. Okay. And the timer doesn't pause if you have to pee. So make sure you pee before you start. Okay. Because the timer is not going to be paused for you. Okay, it just keeps going. Okay, 2 hours for you guys. Any questions? I'm talking about the PTCE. Okay, why am I recommending to go to a testing center? Once you sit down, you're ready to take the test. You're in the zone. Your mindset is, I'm going to take the test, right? There'll be anxiety, of course, but there'll be less anxiety than at home. I'll tell you my experience when I took it at home, and I did it on purpose so that I can share this experience with you. Okay. So you're just there. You know that you're taking the test. There's no interruption. There's no distraction, no nothing. However, let me tell you, I had one student who actually technically failed. It has something to do with a proctor, okay, back in the day. And I asked her, because there's no way she failed the test in my hand. She's the only one who did the review book cover to cover. And she's really very good. She's got like a 3.9 GPA. She's really very studious. So when she told me she failed, I said, what did you do during the test? She said, Miss L, I don't want to play the racist card. Okay. But here's what happened. She's Korean. When I first got there, she said, I asked for a calculator. And she was like, no, we don't have a calculator. But she was handing calculator to each one who came in there. And there's still a calculator in the basket. She told me to use a calculator on the computer. That was the first, she said. And so she said, I just didn't mind it. Right? She accompanied me on my seat. I said, let me ask you, did you move a lot while you were testing? Because it says in there, limit your movement. You know why? The cubicle is not a full cubicle and you're next to each other. It's only half a cubicle, which means if you just back up a little bit, you can see the computer of the other test taker. But the other test takers may be taking a test for engineering or whatever it is, right? Okay. And it says in there, limit your movement. Okay, she said, Miss L, I stretched a couple of times like this and like this. Okay. And so I said, because I couldn't believe that you failed this exam, like failing the actual test. Okay. And so she said, I couldn't believe it too. Because I was helping her out during her process of reviewing, and she was doing the book. She was scoring so good in the practice tests. And then she remembered the calculator from the beginning. And she said, the proctor, she's an old lady, when I was done, like she put notation on my test. Okay. Somebody emailed me just last night. I got my printout from the PTCB after the test and it says pass. Did I pass? So I said, yes, you did. As long as nobody reported that you did not, that you cheated, okay, or they saw something in the camera that's unusual. Saw something in the camera that's unusual. Because after your test, you get a printout, it'll say pass or fail right away. But it'll say as a disclaimer that this is a temporary result. Okay? It is 99% accurate. If it says there you pass, unless somebody reported something. Okay? So she noticed that the proctor notated something, okay, and then handed her the fail. So I couldn't accept it. She accepted it, but I couldn't accept it, right? So I emailed the board and I explained what happened. I hate playing the racist card. I never do that, okay? Because I never play victim. Never. I just know life isn't fair, okay? I just know life isn't fair and I roll with the punches, okay? And so I emailed and I said what happened for them to investigate. Nothing more, nothing less. That really happened. And but if she did stretch, it says in there, limit your movement. Okay. She did stretch, can't do anything about it. But what I didn't like was the proctor was handing calculators to everyone except to her. And there was still a calculator in the basket. I didn't like that. Okay. And she was told, use the calculator on the computer. You know, if the proctor was stereotyping because she's Asian, she should be good in math of sorts. I still don't like it. So I sent a letter to the board, but of course, the board is big. It didn't get there until almost 60 days later, and she got a response. Okay. But she just gave up. She said, I'll just take the test again. Okay. Anyway, one of the lessons I'd like you to learn in that experience is when you're taking the test in a testing center, yes, you're ready to take the test, right? That's already a mindset, right? But remember those things. Limit your movement. Okay? Limit your movement. because it can be deemed as cheating or it compromises the results of your test. Okay? Number 2, do not erase anything on that dry erase board or sheet. Okay? Sometimes, like out of habit, like you do this, do not do that. You got cameras right there in each cubicle. Okay? Remember, your cubicle is not a full cubicle. So you move a little bit, you can see, they might think that you're looking at somebody's computer, right? So just do that. The moment after I started telling this story to my students, the students were more mindful about movements during the test. Okay. Here, back in the day, there's only one testing center. You know that big Las Vegas souvenir shop? Okay. It's across that. There's a building where you go underground. You have to park underground and then you're going to cross, and then that's where the testing center is. Okay. It's a paid parking. Now there's one right here on Sand Hill. One of my students took it on Sand Hill and Eastern, I think. Sand Hill and Eastern, there's one right there, and Northwest has one. Okay, so I was trying to make Pima testing center too, but then our roof collapsed. So I don't have computers. You see how we fight for a classroom here right now? That has to be put on hold. Okay, that was one of the things I wanted, like for us to become a testing center. Okay, that's for the PTCB. Now, PTCE says you can't take it at home and it's proctored. Yes.
Why don't they want you to erase it?
They wanted to see your scratch paper.
It's really stupid.
They wanted to see your scratch paper.
You need more scratch paper room to get another one, or you just
You gotta write small. I like a lot of scratch paper. But to be honest with you, I only used 3. And you have to use the 6. Remember, any test, they have a question bank where they pull answers. So it's random. There'll be tens of thousands of questions. Tens of thousands of questions. I have good news for you later on. This PTCB partnered with me for you to have access to question banks. Anyway, so that's my story for PTCB. Okay. Now they do have at-home testing proctored. Okay, it started during the pandemic and they continued on with that. Okay, so because I was in forums and they said, I saw how those PTCB certified versus NHA certified, or there's kind of a discrimination of sorts, like I'm CPhT, PTCB. Like they look down, this group looks down on this. So I got curious. Why? Why do they look down on this? Why is this more important? So I looked at hiring requirements. Okay. So our state doesn't require either one for you to work as a pharmacy technician, just so you know. State of Nevada. Okay. Your license is all you need to work as a pharmacy technician. However, it's catch-22. I'll tell you which states require it, and I'll tell you which states don't. Okay. Nevada, no. Okay. However, it's catch-22. What's catch-22? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right? Okay, that's catch-22. Why? Your employers most likely require it. The state doesn't require it for you to work as a technician. You only need your state license, but your employers require it. So I scanned Indeed. Okay, I scanned Indeed. There are many employers that require you to be nationally certified. One thing I can tell you, you cannot work in a hospital without this as a technician. Okay, Las Vegas hospitals require it, even if the state doesn't. Why? It's a way for them to know that you're willing to do the extra mile, that extra step, even if it's not required of you. And it kind of, not really 100% guarantees that, one, you do that extra mile without being asked, without being required. And two, that you have a great understanding of your job. Retail, specialty, hospital. Okay? Even Walmart now requires this. And you know what's funny? What I found out? It specifically says preferably PTCB or must be PTCB accredited, PTCB certified. You see that? That's why it's catch-22 in our state. You following? I'm going to show you a map which states. This is why I highly recommend this because it's accepted in all 50 states. I had a student after finishing here, got a job offer in a hospital in Oregon. And this was years ago. I'd say more than 10 years ago at 35 an hour. She left fast. No. So you don't know what opportunity lands on your lap. Okay, so even if the state doesn't require it. I have a student who works for Walmart. They'll say it's just Walmart. Do you know Walmart pays for your tuition fee? Whether you're part-time or full-time? It's one of the companies that pay for your tuition fee. Okay. And number two, Walmart starting, for my students at least, I don't know, the other graduates from other schools, was $24. Almost the same as the hospital. So my students who still work at Walmart told me, Miss L, you have to be PTCB certified now at Walmart. Okay. And if you're not, you're given 1 year to be PTCB certified. And I have a guess. Okay. Because if there's somebody who can actually compete with Amazon, it's Walmart. They should have done it a long time ago. Okay. So CVS, not a lot of people know this. CVS has bought a lot of little pharmacies here in town. WellCare, there used to be 5 WellCares. These are little pharmacies. They bought 3 of the 5. Okay. Are they really buying the pharmacy, the assets, the equipment? No. You're buying the patient database. And that costs millions. Okay. So I have a feeling because Walmart also requires IV certification. CVS bought OmniCare, which is a closed-door pharmacy, and the operations director was a graduate of mine. We have students in there, okay? CVS bought them because CVS is trying to expand or diversify. They are an IV, closed-door pharmacy. So they bought that. They're filling prescriptions for kindred hospitals. That's what happens. So I wouldn't put it past Walmart. Why did you require IV certification? Walgreens has an infusion services not a lot of people know about. It's in Charleston. It's closed door. All they do is infusion all day. And you know what's good about you? You're the only one that has IV certification in the whole state. We're the only school that does that. Okay. You don't even have to go to Texas to do it. I shook hands with them so that the instructors can certify you. That clear? Okay, that's PTCB. My experiences in a testing center. Okay. Pandemic. I think it was 2020 or 2021. I said, okay, let me take this one to see if it's really easier. Okay. So I took this one at home. I wanted to see how the proctoring system at home works. I kicked everybody out of my home. So I'm sure I'm the only one with a broadband using that broadband, right? So I'm sure that the Wi-Fi is not going to go down because everybody's on it, right? So I said, everybody leave my house. I'll be taking the test. It was too much anxiety for me. I had to be like probably 10 times. I was in my room with a desk before you start. you'll have to pan your camera around your room, on top of your desk, under your desk. You'll have to have your ID, they'll ID you. I left my phone in the sink, so it's far from me. But then before I start, can I pee? Like, I have to pee again. I just peed before I started. Okay? Because anxiety is different when you're at home. And there's nobody there. My son wasn't in there. I asked my son to leave. Okay? Everybody was gone, just me. Okay? And like, probably everything that's hooked to the Wi-Fi is like off. It's just me. And then here comes my proctor, and you don't see your proctor. It's just in the chat box, talking to you in the chat box. Okay? And I do believe that my proctor is not in the United States. So the system went down. Okay. So there was a technical glitch. I doubted that it was my Wi-Fi. I doubted that it was my system. I have a mesh, I have 5G, and I have a 2.5G at home. I doubted it was my system, and nobody was at home that day. So I think the proctor is outside in Asia. Okay. I can't hear the voice, it's just chat. Okay. And their internet is not as strong as ours. Okay. I think his system went down. And so I was like, even more anxiety and panic. What the heck? I was about to start, but it says in there that if there was a glitch and you're at the middle of your test, the timer will stop. Okay. It happened before I started, but I was supposed to start it an hour before that. But because of all these glitches before I could start, it was almost an hour. So that hour of anxiety is not helping. Right? Okay, so here it comes, took the test really fast. Okay? But then it hang, and then you don't know where to find your proctor because the proctor is not answering on the chat box. So you just went on, right? That's why I don't like you taking it out. Because most proctors are not here in the United States. And the glitch is going to be blamed on you, not them. Even if I know it's their internet that's slow. You following? That extra hour of anxiety that gets added to you on test taking is not worth it. When you walk in a testing center, everything's prepared for you. Just sit down. Your mindset is, I'm going to take the PTCE today. Okay. Now, is it really easy? Way easier than this one. Way easier. Okay. So what's my suggestion? Which one do you take, Miss L? Well, primarily, none of this pay me. Okay. I'm telling you this in a fair manner and me taking both. Okay. This contacted me. Okay. And this contacted me too. Okay. I have to say, no, I don't want to write any questions for that because I'm going to have to sign a waiver that I cannot discuss what's in the test. Okay. My goal is to have you pass. So no amount of money is equivalent to that. Okay. When you take your test, you're going to sign a waiver at the end. You're not to talk about any of this for 2 years. So during that 2 years, I built my app. I'm not allowed to talk about it. Yeah. After 2 years, that's gone. Whatever I signed is gone. I launched my app. I could talk about it. Do you really think I didn't talk about it? I did talk about it in class, right? My students came as a way of saying thank you. They pass on the information. That's why I know what usually shows up. Okay. This is I want you to take because it's accepted in all 50 states, including the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, Mexico, and I think Brazil. some provinces in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. Okay, that's why I prefer this, all 50 states. This one, 47 states. Okay, you're only allowed to take it up to 3 times. If you fail, you gotta go to a training. Your pharmacist has to sign it. There's a specific number of hours. Many people who are not sitting here, or who are not my students, are hunting me down. Twice already. Okay. Our record is first time try. Yes. Okay. First try, you pass. Okay. Why do I want to make you pass the first try? Because you're not allowed to retake it until 60 days later. So if you have a job offer already, do you really think they're going to wait for you for 60 days? Most likely not. Okay. So my goal is to have you pass on your first try. And I've been doing that goal. I've been accomplishing that goal. Yes, Ty, I'm flexible. Okay. It just tells you, okay, you get what you put into it, because I put in a lot for you to pass. You just have to take it, okay? Take it with you and run with it, okay? You're lucky you're sitting in my classroom. Those people who are trying to find me already failed twice, but I still had them pass the 3rd time. I recommend you take this in a testing center. If after 3 attempts, I'm just talking about in general, if you don't pass, you have to go back to training. Pharmacists will have to sign you off. They want to training before you'll be given a 4th chance. Okay? None of my students had to do that. Okay? But like I said, technicians outside of state, their pharmacists tell them, find her. She'll help you pass. Okay? I had so many emails. Walgreens employees, like, failed twice. They have their own training. Most of the time, it's not helpful for them. Walgreens have their own training. CVS has their own training. Walgreens has their own training. So they find other resources. Okay. And I said, who's your pharmacist? I don't even know who their pharmacist is. Like, what are you finding me? Because I failed twice already. And they're requiring me to be this. Okay. So PTCE. NHA, say for example, you really can't pass this, which you're not my student if you can't. But I tell you, I'm going to disown you. Worst case scenario. Never had a student fail, come on. After 3 times, you still couldn't pass this. Just go take this. If you just need this title. Okay, just take this one. You can't really pass this, just take this one. But again, you're not my student. You are not my student if you can't pass this. Here's the problem though. Some companies specifically say PTCB on their requirements. That is a problem. But if the company just says must be certified, nationally certified, just go for this one. If after 3 tries you're still failing. Yes. I don't know what you did in my classroom. If you really are not my student. I don't know you. Was it? Never heard of that.
The PTCB, I know there's like 90 questions. How many questions do you have to write to get like a 14?
90 questions, yes. 10 are not scored. Yeah, they're test questions. Okay, so every single 90 questions, there's 10 questions that are not scored. Okay, they're not scored. They're there to test whether this group knows the answer to this one. Okay, and then they may use it in the future as scored ones. Okay, I don't know how, nobody knows how the scoring really works. Okay, what's the highest you can get and what's the lowest? for you to pass. You know? Who did sequence 1 and sequence 2? Already. The lowest is 1400. Is that the lowest passing? And what's the highest? Before I tell you what our students are scoring. I'll show you a map. I don't know how they're scored, but it goes from what to what? From what to what? 1,000 to 1,600. Is that correct? Anybody who will disagree? Anybody who will disagree? You know what our students are saying? They're scoring 1,500 plus. Yes, I'm flexing, Ty. I love getting emails from not my students, but those who just found me. It's like, I finally passed after 2 fails and I scored 1,500 something. Okay. So in here, ptcb.org, for you to earn your credentials and to apply for CPhT or for the test, you go here, earn credentials. And then certifications. Back in the day, they only have the CPhT. Now they do have USB 797 or sterile compounding, advanced CPhT, but you start off with CPhT because you cannot be advanced CPhT without passing CPhT first. Okay? And you cannot be sterile compounding technician without passing CPhT first. So your first step after finishing the program is the CPhT credentials. Okay, certified pharmacy technician right here. Okay, and then you follow the instructions. Did you go to an accredited school or training program? Yes. Okay, we're both accredited by ABHES and ASHP. Now, what I do here, I put here map. For me to find the latest map. Here. Let's make it smaller so you can see the legend. Okay, you see the avocado green. What does it say? The avocado green says, must be registered or licensed, the avocado green, right? The teal, right? Looks like more teal. The teal must be nationally certified and registered or licensed. Okay? So, avocado, licensed by the state. Teal, licensed and national certified. Okay? Orange, no requirements. Now, let's look. No requirements. Hawaii. No requirements. Okay? Pennsylvania. This is latest. That's why I go to the website. New York, some parts. So that's why it's striped like that. Okay. What's green? What's the avocado green? Registered in their state board of pharmacy, correct? Registered in their state board of pharmacy. Here's us. Registered in the state for you to work as a pharmacy technician. Remember I told you you're not required. However, it's catch-22 for you because your employers want you to be certified. Okay. California. Oklahoma, Nebraska, and all of this. Avocado root, Alaska. Now let's look at the states that require it. Want to move to Arizona? They require it. So our campuses in Arizona are required to take it. Students in Arizona. Okay. But the ironic thing is we have a higher pass rate than there. Or not even required. Yes, tight and flexing. Okay, want to move to Utah? Required. Okay. Colorado, we have campuses in Colorado. Required. Okay. And Texas, required. Okay. I had students who moved to Texas, quite a good number of them. Most of their reason is because they have better chance of buying a home in Texas than here. Okay. All the ones who moved to Texas are nationally certified. What did you do? Nothing except register for the Texas State Board of Pharmacy. Because they carry this with them. They carry this title. They didn't have to do anything except keep the CEs to keep your certification. Is that clear? Okay. How many CEs? Both required. You don't have to test every 2 years. As long as you keep your CEs and then you can renew. Okay. Both require 20 CEs total. Okay. 1 hour of that must be in law. And 1 hour must be in patient safety. Now you understand why we have a patient safety class? Okay. There's another reason. I'll talk about the outline. Okay. You guys see yourself working in another state or moving to another state? Yes, I see Justin. Where? Washington. Let's look. Where's Washington? Where's Washington?
All the way to the top and then.
What color? Which means? Okay. Who else wants to move? Aaron, where? South Carolina. Where's yours? What color?
Green.
Green, meaning same as Nevada. Okay. Steve, you want to go back? Billy? Okay.
I'm still not.
What is it? Orange?
Yeah.
I don't care. That's scary. I wouldn't move to those states that don't have regulations. Okay. Who else? Kathy, did you raise your hand? Ashley. Same. Washington. What color is Washington again? Washington State, huh? We have a Washington campus. You know that, right? Seattle. Okay. What color is Washington? Teal. Okay. Not humid. I like to move to Texas. The Republic of Texas. Texas is not that humid. Okay. Who wants to move? You go to Mexico, you go to Brazil, you go to Puerto Rico. You don't have to study again in those countries as long as you have PTCB. Okay. Who else? Okay, cool. Now let's talk about, I'll leave that there. Let's talk about the guidelines and the requirements, credentialing requirements of the PTCB. Okay. These are the topics or the content that you need to focus on because this is these are the things they base the questions on. Okay. I actually have one copy that's stuck right here so that I can refer to it all the time when I talk to you guys. Okay. So let's talk about these topics. First item, medications. How much? 40%. Okay. What's medications? Generic names, brand names, classifications of medications. Therapeutic equivalents. Common and life-threatening drug interactions. Why do you think I talk about drug-to-drug interaction, drug-to-food interaction, drug-to-disease interaction? Because of this. Okay, did you see? Drug to disease, drug to drug, drug to dietary supplement, drug to laboratory, drug to nutrient. All of these I've covered here. Okay, drug to drug, drug to food. Okay, strength, dose, dosage, routes or routes of administration, special handling and administration. Your nail polish, right? Your nail polish forms, special dosage forms, right? Okay. Duration of drug therapy, common and severe medication side effects, gastric bleeding, NSAID, liver damage, adverse effects, allergies. Okay, grapefruit should not be given to patients taking statins. Warfarin should not be given with aspirin. What else?
Oh,
Leafy greens, and leafy greens are rich in vitamin K, which means warfarin and coumadin should not be given to patients taking vitamin K as well, okay, or vice versa. Or you should not take vitamin K with warfarin and coumadin. Are you following? I'm repetitive on those things for this reason, okay? Indications, medications, and dietary supplements. I even took you to an herb store for you to understand it better, okay? Drug stability, oral suspension, insulin, reconstitutables, injectables, vaccinations. One question on your final exam that you may have forgotten, I'm sure Maria forgot. What's the conversion of insulin? 100 units is 1 ml. Always. Always a question on the PTCE. Yeah? Next one, drug stability. What affects drug stability? I told you, remember the alt key. Air, light, and temperature. They'll show up like that. Okay. How can you tell this, Miss L? I took the test. And I have about 10,000 students who told me what they found in there too. Narrow therapeutic index, we talked about this. There's a very thin line. Sometimes it separates the lethal dose from the therapeutic dose. Okay. Physical and chemical incompatibilities to non-sterile compounding and reconstitution. So this includes compounding. Okay. Proper storage of medications. Xalatan, where do you find xalatan? In the fridge, not in the ophthalmic section. Always a favorite question on the PTCE. Generic of xalatan? I heard Steve. It ends in a prost, right? Latanoprost, very good. Next item. Okay, federal requirements. What subject do you think this is? Law, sequence 1. Okay. Now you understand why I teach the most difficult classes? So that you'll shoot me, not Miss J. I'm the bad cop. She's the good cop. Okay, I'm okay. I have so much shield. Can cover myself. Federal requirements. Of course, this is law. How much? 12.5%. Federal requirements for handling and disposal of non-hazardous, hazardous, and pharmaceutical substances and waste. How do you dispose fentanyl patches? Sequence 1. Okay. How do you dispose of fentanyl patches? How do you dispose of opioids? Right. How do you dispose expired medication? Sequence 1 coming up. Okay. Federal requirements for controlled substances. How many refills does a C2 have?
0.
C2, 0 refills, always a new prescription. C3 to C5, how many refills? 5. How long is C2 good for?
14.
14 days. How long is C3 to C5 good for?
6 months.
6 months. How many refills for C3 to C5? 5. Luckily, Nevada follows federal law, so you don't have to memorize another set of numbers. Yes, Steve?
Go back to the patch question.
I don't know. You answered that question. How do you dispose of fentanyl patches? Okay. We'll talk about that in law. How do you dispose? You can look it up if you want to. How do you dispose of controlled substances? You know how most people, they just flush it in the toilet? Some drugs can be flushed in the toilet. Some can't. You should not. Okay? You will find out why we have cat litter boxes in pharmacies. Yes. Federal requirements, DEA, FDA. Who's the DEA? Drug enforcement. What's the A? Administration. What do they regulate? What do they regulate? Substances that are easily abused or highly addictive, right? New refills, transfer, federal requirements, controlled substances, receiving, storing, ordering. Okay, what's the form we use for ordering C2s? DEA form? 222. How many can you order at one time? There's 10 lines. 10 is the correct answer. Those are questions that show up on the PTCE. Okay. What's a DEA form that you use to report theft? Oh, very good. What's the DEA form that you use to destroy? 41. Remember, 4 is the number of death for the Chinese. So 41 is the destruction. Okay. Federal requirements restricted and programs related medication processing, pseudoephedrine. Okay. Limit. What's the limit?
3.6 in a day.
3.6 what? Grams per? What's a 30-day period? Is it 9.6? 9 grams in a 30-day. Those questions are favorite questions on the PTCE as well. Okay, let's talk about RAM sequence 1, FDA recall. Okay, what's the identifier for recall? The lot number. Very good. Okay, next one. Number 3, which is our class, the sequence, patient safety and quality assurance. What's the percentage? 26.25. Now, I'd like you to add medications 40% and patient safety and quality assurance. 40 plus 26.25. 66.25%. So let me tell you a story how this came out. Okay. I was in the middle of writing 1,000 frequently asked questions on the PTCB exam. But then I saw this blueprint change. And I thought it's going to take a while for me to finish this 1,000 frequently asked questions on the PTCB exam. So I started writing the top 200 drugs made ridiculously easy when I saw the blueprint changed from medications, 40%, okay? And then patient safety, 26.25%, which means 66.25% of the PTCE has something to do with drugs. And I'm not just saying memorize the brand generic in class. Like I keep telling you, I don't like the word memorize. It's just clickbait. Yeah? That's why I tell you stories. I teach you so you remember the side effects. Okay? What should you not take with this drug? The drug-to-drug interaction, the drug to food, the drug to disease. Okay? Because it has something to do with patient safety, show up so much on the PTCE. And so I paused that book and published this sooner. Okay, because it's quicker too. Okay, so I put in here the 40 and the 26.25%. So you have a great chance, if you take this seriously, reading the interactions at the back on the table and listening to the things I'm talking about. Okay. I cannot find anything that's as simple as this. Like it tells you directly what this drug does. Okay. And then at the back, there's a table of what suffixes, which we did. Remember in pharmacology, the most common prefixes, roots, and suffixes for you to know that this particular zone is a corticosteroid and it's anti-inflammatory. Okay. Mycin, cycline, remember those? Without you memorizing 7 of those drugs, you actually memorize it without memorizing it. You know that cycline is a tetracycline. And what's a common side effect for tetracycline? Do not give it to kids younger than 8 because teeth discoloration. You already know, right? Did you memorize that? No. Told you a story, right? Looked at the table, extracted that suffix, okay? Patient safety, high alert, high risk, look alike, sound alike drugs, tall man lettering. Didn't we do that? Yes. Error prevention strategies, tall man lettering right there. Limit use of error-prone abbreviations, the do not use list. Remember your do not use list? MG, MCG, you have to write down the words. The leading 0 and the trailing 0. Do not forget the leading 0, drop the trailing 0. All of those are used because they're in the do not use list and error-prone abbreviations. MS and MgSO4, morphine sulfate versus magnesium sulfate. They should be written down. You following? Okay. Issues that require pharmacist intervention, the DURs, drug to drug, drug to food, drug to age, drug to sex. Okay. Once you see it, you're using the software, right? Do you exit out? No, you call the pharmacist to check what caused the problem. Drug to allergies. Patients who are allergic to penicillin are what percent most likely allergic to cephalosporins? 10%. See, you're like saying it. The answers. I'm proud. OTC drugs, I talked about side effects of NSAIDs. What's the side effect of NSAID? Gastric irritation or gastric bleeding, so take with food as much as possible. Side effect of Tylenol or acetaminophen, too much of it may cause liver damage. Okay. Event reporting procedures, medication error, adverse effects. MedWatch. What's MedWatch? Those who did sequence 1 with me. System. Who handles it? What organization? FDA. This is the FDA's reporting system for adverse drug events, ADEs. Okay. Types of prescription, abnormal doses, refills, incorrect quantity, incorrect patient, incorrect drug, hygiene and cleaning standards, which is sterile compounding, hand washing, PPEs, cleaning counting trays. When do you clean counting tray? Thank you. Every time. Your pharmacist will love you. But when the every time is not in the option, when do you clean? Antibiotics, specifically sulfa drugs or penicillin. Okay? Antibiotics in general. Okay? Most importantly, sulfa drugs. But yes, that's my reminder. Clean it before and after. Next one, order, entry, and processing. This is where your inventory comes into play, law comes into play. How much? 21.25%. Procedures to compound non-sterile products. You actually had a field trip. You made ointments, creams, emulsions. Nobody made suppositories nor enemas. I wish you did, but we talked about it. Formulas, calculations, ratios and proportion, alligations, conversions, SIG codes, your BID, your TID, your QID, your Roman numerals, Ty's favorite, Roman numerals, abbreviations, medical terminology, which I give you tips because they mostly came from Latin and Greek abbreviations. And Latin and Greek are the mother tongues. So Spanish are related to that. That's why I say it in Spanish sometimes, or most times, to help you guys out. Quantity, dose, concentration, equipment, supplies required for drug administration, the package size. You did unit dosing with me. You did blister packing with me. You did injectable syringes, right? Lot numbers, expiration dates, NDC. You identify NDC. What's NDC? National Drug Code. How many digits? 10 to 11. What's the first 5? This shows up on the PTCE. It's a good way for me to review this, to review you. The first 5 would be? The first 5 would be? The first 5 would refer to who? Manufacturer code. The next 4 would be? Drug or product code. And the last 2 would be? Package size. And they'll give you a series of numbers and they'll tell you what is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or what's 4, 3, 2, 1. And what's 1 and 0. Yeah, and then it's a multiple choice, all multiple choice. Procedures for identifying, returning dispensable, non-dispensable, expired medications. This is inventory. Credits, return. We're going to talk about that. Stock, reverse distribution. I want you to highlight the bottom that has an asterisk. Can everybody read that? Some or all of this statement reflects calculation-based knowledge. Ms. L, is there math in there? Some or all of this statement reflects calculation-based knowledge. Did I answer your question? How many maths? I don't know. It depends on the mood of the question bank. What it dispenses to you. It's like a lottery. You'll get 90 from tens of thousands of questions. Yeah. So some students said, I only had 5 questions. It's all percentages. I only had 2 allegation. I had a lot of law, but this is what's common. Beginning the time they changed this blueprint. This I had a lot of drugs, is what they said. So this will be your best friend for the next couple of weeks or days or leading into your PTCE. Okay? I'm in the process of finishing 150 most common questions, math questions on the PTCE. 150 word problems. Yes, actually before the end of the year. $150 most common math questions that showed up on the PTCE. They're all word problems. Okay. If I'm serious at making you pass effort outside of my normal working hours, don't you think you should too? I've been asked many questions. Do you ever rest? My brain doesn't. Okay. Resting to me is writing books. Weird. That's relaxing to me. Because I know that my students are going to benefit from it. Okay? So make this your best friend. Okay, summarize it just like notes. This is not how I would write a textbook. I ghostwrite for some back in the day. Okay? I made this just like a notes that students can keep. Yeah. It's not very formal. It's straightforward. Okay. It's not formal. But if it's formal, you're going to see those chemical symbols in there that you don't need it actually for the PTCE. You're going to see some organic chem, biochem. No, I'm not going to do that. It's straightforward. Look up a drug. It'll tell you. Let's see one. Prodoxa. Boom. It's a blood thinner. Right? Xarelto. Oops. It's an anticoagulant. And I actually grouped it by system. It's a musculoskeletal. Pain management drugs right away. Tylenol PM, Tylenol, Furicet, Cataflam, Advil, Mobic. It starts from less addictive. to the more addictive ones. Right? Celebrex, Ultram. Now we start Vicodin, then we go Methadose, and then Duragesic skin patch, and then Percocet. And at the end of every system, I motivate you so you don't give up. I believe in my ability to overcome obstacles. Every end of a system. So you don't throw in the towel. You don't give up. Yeah, I got this. Another system. At the end, I am worthy of success and happiness. Constantly improving and evolving. Sometimes after a system, oh my God, I don't get it. Okay, there goes your motivation. Okay. And to those who want to write, I do want to write. Not on the board though, because it gives me allergies. You got your notes section at the back. Digital or physical, I included the notes section. Okay. So is there math? There's a lot of math. But how much? I don't know how much is a lot. It depends on the time you sat for the test. Okay. It can be just 2 maths. It can be a lot of law. But one thing is for certain, there's a lot of drugs. And there's not one student who took the test who came back and said, I didn't get any drug question. First thing they say, a lot of drugs, Miss L, not just brand generic in class. The things you say, drug to drug interactions, drug to food interactions, drug to allergies interaction. Do not take this with this. Analysis of the case, the patient that came. Why? Because of your expanding roles as pharmacy technicians, medication reconciliation, medication therapy management. You are partners with pharmacists. You cannot work without the supervision of the pharmacist, but you are partners with pharmacists. Don't rely on pharmacists catching the errors. You're part of that. Remember I told you I'm so proud when I walk in and the pharmacist said, you know your student caught possible medication error. I'm like, yes, that's mine. But if they said, he's on Netflix, he doesn't wipe counting trays, like, man, oh boy. I wish I could say he's not mine, but I was the one who shook hands with them. If you make me proud, you should be proud of yourselves. Yeah, especially if you don't give up. It's not how you started. It's not how fast you finish. Did you finish? Did you finish strong? You failed your first sequence, 1 class, 2 classes. So what? Do it again. Again, but finish strong. Okay? Any questions? Any questions? Sure. Okay. Let's take a few minutes break. It is 9:35. I'll see you at 9:45.